runs on the web, though. Okay. And if you make your own player that runs on the web, hitting the API, then as long as you've got an internet connection, I mean, you can make web players on a web page easily.
Problem is in streaming, real-time captioning.
We are streaming on our NAS drives, though.
Yeah. Well,
it's to overcome, but if you can get
listen for like 5 minutes.
Okay, I think it's recording.
Oh, you could just display the whole caption.
Sure. This is cool. This is my project.
Cool.
Yeah, nice job. Thank you.
all right, ladies, you have 20 minutes, 5 minutes for questions.
Who's the guy that was?
As soon as we get these folks out, we'll go. Great job. See you guys. Okay, Julianne, Sarah, you're on.
Okay. Well, I'm Julianne Francisco, and this is Sarah Fox. And we did our Capstone project as a research study on the effect of team personality and composition on learning and performance. So this is how our presentation is going to go. We're going to go over the main question and some past research and terms. We'll go over the method and the findings that we found, conclusions based off those findings, future plans, and lessons learned.
Okay, so we started out with a research question, and this kind of drove our whole project. And that question is, what makes a dream team? What is the thing that makes teams great? So instead, you see the dream team here, and you're like, all of these people are amazing in their own rights, but they come together, and then they make an amazing team. And so I was kind of thinking, even in an academic setting, how does that work? Because I feel like sometimes you see those teams that are amazing, you're like, I want to be on that team, but I'm on the team that's eating glue, and so you're like, what's the difference? How do I get onto that team? So that was kind of what drove our project. So as we started getting into it and researching, we found that 77% of employers that say that personality is just as important when it comes to doing the job as the skills needed to perform that job. And these are skills or personality traits like good work ethic and, can they get along with people and things like that. So we found that this is actually pretty important to employers, and so we decided that it's probably just important to start this in an academic setting. So we realized that what makes teams great is more than just their skills and experiences. So we decided to delve into the personality aspect of it, and our hypothesis became that personality doesn't affect, or affects not only performance and productivity, but also the learning and progress of these individual team members. So this is kind of the question that drove our whole project. And so now we'll get into sort of the past research, our literature review, and the certain terms that we use that will kind of help you to understand as we go forward. So, the first thing is that we use Big 5 for our personality measurement. This is most widely accepted among researchers, and it's the best personality test out there. It surpassed Myers-Briggs and the Color Code, and so this is what we chose to use. And it's broken down into 5 different traits, and I'll go through and define each of them. So there's extroversion, which is you're very high in excitability, and so I guess it's on a scale. Sorry, I should explain that. So it's on a scale of high to low in each of these traits. So if you score high on extroversion, then you're very friendly, you're very outgoing, you're very assertive, and you gain energy from people. And then on the other side, if you score low on this, then you're more introverted and quiet, thoughtful, methodical in the way that you do things, and you gain energy from within. So then we go on to agreeableness, and if you score high on this, then you are a very friendly person. You're described as humble and moral, and you want to get along with people, and you're willing to do more for them. And on the flip side, if you score lower on agreeableness, this can be seen as manipulative, and that you're not going out of your way for other people as much, and that you're more in it for yourself. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, it just kind of depends on the situation. Then the next one is neuroticism, and this is also described as emotional stability. So if you score high in neuroticism, then you're very prone to bouts of sadness and irritability and mood swings, and if you score low in this, then you're more emotionally stable, things don't get you down as much, and you're not as prone to irritability and sadness. So then we go on to openness to experience, and if you're high in this, then you're very adventurous, you like new things, you're not bound to social cues as much as some people, and if you score low in this, you're more traditional and conservative, and you don't like to break the mold. And for conscientiousness, this is if you score high, then you're very methodical, you're very organized, you're very detail-oriented. If you score low, then you're more big picture, you don't really care as much about the details, and you're willing to be a little bit more messy and things like that. So that is the big 5 personality. So then we go on to CREASE. This stands for Creative Self-Efficacy, and it is designed by our own Professor Keith. And so this is the model for measuring someone's attitude or like their belief in themselves to creatively solve business problems within technology. And it's measured by 5 different aspects: attitude, business skills, intelligence, people skills, and technology training. So attitude is defined by a person's belief in themselves. Do they actually think that they can solve this problem? Business skills is defined by the skills that they actually have to solve the problem within the business. Like, do they have the acumen? Do they understand the terms? Things like that. Then intelligence is kind of the innate thing that you're born with. Like, this is your intelligence, so you're born with your capabilities. And that doesn't really change that much. And for people skills, this is like, how do you interact with other people and things like that. Like, how do you rate your skills on interacting with people? And finally, there's technology training, which is how well do you understand technology? Like, do you believe that you can work with it? Like, what are your actual skills? So that's CREASE. And then we get into manipulation. And so we did this by clusters. So cluster we define as your overall personality, and when we put it into the tool SmartPLS, we found there are 2 different clusters. So Julianne will go into more detail about this, so I won't go into too much detail, but just know that manipulation is homogeneous and heterogeneous from the different clusters that we found.
And that's as far as group composition?
Yeah, as far as group composition, how we arrange the teams. And then within the actual team formations, we did it based on elevation and variability. So elevation is based on an average of all of their personality trait scores, and then variability is based on the standard deviation, how far away they are. And that's how we form the different teams, was through these traits. And again, Julie and I will go into more detail, but I just wanted to provide some context. Alright, and so now we'll go into our lit review, and here is a screenshot of our final table. So this is kind of how we judged the articles as we went through. We did it on 4 different categories: how the teams were characterized, the effect that the personality traits had on those teams, like what it led to, what the team or what the group measurement was, elevation and variability, and then the effect that that had on the team. And so this is kind of a general picture of the lit review. I just wanted to show that before we went to the next slide. So our literature review, we started very, very broad, and then we narrowed down. So we originally started out with 26 articles, then they were all different, like Myers-Briggs, color codes. Then we narrowed down to Big 5, which was 11 articles. Then we narrowed it down to technology Big 5 articles, and we only found 5. And so we learned that this is actually a really great field to start researching, and there's not a lot out there for IS, and so we were excited to kind of delve into that and see what we could find. So what we did find was that the lit review said that in order for teams to be successful in an IS environment, you should be low in neuroticism, high in extroversion, and high in openness to experience. So we were kind of excited to see if our research would prove that, but that's kind of our theories we had as we went into this.
Will you say that again? Which?
Oh yeah,
which
so low in neuroticism, high in extroversion, and openness to experience.
Okay.
And then we found this paper called Personality and Team Performance and Meta-Analysis, and it explained elevation and variance or variability a lot more in depth. And so we kind of decided to base our paper on this one and take it a step further and do experiments, because it was only a meta-analysis. So this is just kind of a general summarization of what they found from their own lit review. So we're taking it a step further and doing experiments based on this. Yeah, so now we'll move to the method.
So we did our study on IS 303 students. They're in the last prerequisite course before they apply to the Information Systems program. And we did an initial data collection where we collected their Big 5 personality measures and their creative self-efficacy scores. And based off of that survey, we did an analysis and we found that there were 2 main clusters of personality. Cluster 0 is the people that are less extroverted and more conscientious and more neurotic. And cluster 1 are those that are more extroverted but less conscientious and less neurotic. We found that openness to experience and agreeableness had less of an effect on which cluster they were in than the other 3 measures. And based off of those clusters, we put them into groups that were both homogeneous and heterogeneous. So the homogeneous groups could be either all introverts or all extroverts, and heterogeneous groups have half of each. Oh, and one more thing. We put them in the homogeneous and heterogeneous groups based off the distance they were from their cluster. So if they were closer to the cluster, then we put them in the homogeneous groups, so they'd be more purely introverts or purely extroverts. In the heterogeneous groups, they could be a little more distanced from the cluster. Okay, and so after they were in their groups for a while and did some group work, we did final data collection. So we collected grades for both individual and group assignments, and we measured their peer rating scores, which will measure their social well-being, so the amount of effort that their peers think that they are putting in. And we measured the same crease questions again to get the change in creative self-efficacy scores. So based off that, we did data analysis and visualization. We used a tool called Smart PLS, which is a structural equation modeling software. It's really fancy, and it helped us find the significant relationships. And then we used Tableau to do some visualization. So if you'd like to see some visualization later or now, we do have an interactive dashboard at this link. This link will also be on the next slide, so you don't have to memorize it right now. Okay, so some of our main findings found that homogeneous groups led to better cohesion and higher crease improvement. Cluster was a moderator of this effect. So those in cluster 0, the introverts, that effect was magnified in them. The introverts, they get more crease improvement, so they are more confident in their ability to solve business problems after being in a homogeneous group. We also found that manipulation likely does not affect grades in our small data set. If we did get more data and found that it was significant, it would not be a large impact. And another thing found is gender has an impact on peer ratings and cohesion. We're still looking into this, but right now it seems that males seem to think that their teams have more cohesion. This doesn't mean that they do, it means that that's what they perceive. And we found that females tend to be rated higher in the amount of effort that they're putting in by their groups.
That's where you say, booyah.
Makes sense.
So here's just the model that was created in Smart PLS. It just kind of visualizes exactly what Julianne just said. So the numbers that are in bold are the high t-test scores. If they're above 1.2, which equals to a 0.05 p-score, which means that they are statistically significant. So we found that depending on what cluster you were in, that related to your grades, and then based on the manipulation, that led to higher cohesion or crease, depending on what group you were in. So just kind of like really interesting things like that. And this is just a visualization of what Julianne just said.
Can you go back to that last slide? What does that green one mean right there?
That is the moderator. And that just means that depending on what cluster you were in, it kind of changed on crease. So I believe that if you were in like cluster 0, it meant more for you to like learn increase than cluster 1.
I gotta give you something to answer.
Okay, so this is a map of each of the elements of crease, and the different colors are the different clusters. So cluster 0 is the light blue, and cluster 1 is the dark blue. So it looks like overall, cluster 1 saw more change in each of the individual ones, despite our view that according to what groups they're in, cluster 0 saw more change in homogeneous groups. So we'll look into that as well. And most changes occurred in the 3 traits of business skills, people skills, and technology training, and less in overall attitude.
Okay, so here's some of our conclusions. So we found that depending on what your overall goal is, that's how you should form the teams. So in an academic setting, we found that the homogeneous teams actually had better crease. So they had better improvement in their learning. But we found that the heterogeneous teams actually learned, or they had better performance outcomes. So we learned that kind of depending on where you want to go is how you should form your teams. Especially for the homogeneous groups, the cluster 0, cluster 0, it meant more for them to be with people that were similar to themselves than it did for cluster 1. And cluster 0, just again, that was the introverted team. They're the ones that were like higher in conscientiousness and neuroticism and lower in extroversion. So it meant a lot more for them to be in groups similar to people that like them, and that led to higher learning. But for heterogeneous groups, mainly for the extroverts, it didn't really matter to them as much who they were in a group with, and so they actually had higher performance. So that was kind of interesting.
So what's the difference between learning and performance? How do you measure each of
So
those?
learning, we measured that through CREASE, and that was just like their overall belief in themselves, like how, like where they started out with technology to where they ended up at the end.
Their improvement in their CREASE.
Oh yeah, their improvement in their CREASE scores.
And then performance was
Their
hard grade.
grades.
Okay.
So what you're telling me, and then in our department, if we just want to focus on everyone getting good grades, go heterogeneous
Yeah.
for the core.
But if you overall want to help people improve in their CREASE and take skills out into the business world and like actually learn more and retain it, then homogeneous groups seem better at this point. And so just kind of a quick analogy that Dr. Keith came up with. This is actually a lot like learning programming, is when you first start out, you want to learn one language and you want to learn it really well. You don't want to throw 6 different languages at someone and just have them like become mediocre in each one. Because once they gain confidence, then they can take that into other things that they learn now that they believe in themselves. That was kind of what we learned, and it's just really cool. Like, we were really excited about this, and it just seems nice. So, Julianne will go into future plans.
Okay, so based off this study, we were planning an additional study on junior core students. So based off of this study, we're going to do group assignments for the junior core based off of the personality clusters. And then we'll measure personality, greatest efficacy, social well-being, performance, and team flow in that study. We're also considering doing a study on Masters of Information Management students to determine if these findings also apply to those with more technical expertise than students in IELTS 2 or 3 that are more beginners.
Okay, and then we can go into some lessons learned. So the first one is that collegiate research, it actually is pretty fun and rewarding. When I first started out, I was like, oh geez, research. But as we went on and I started to see how cool it actually is, I actually really enjoyed it. And it was fun to learn. And we definitely want to develop better research skills. Because as we were working with our mentors, Professor Anderson and Professor Keith, like they would just look at something and be like, oh, this is what this means. This is a good journal or not a good journal. And Julianne and I were sitting there like, yeah, that's a good journal. I'm with you. So just do a lot better just to learn and see these things and just have a better research mind. Like that would be really cool for us. That's kind of a goal now. Then we also learned that literature reviews should definitely begin early and have a clear purpose. Because as we started very, very broad, and we're just like so many articles, and we realized some of them don't really apply, and it was kind of just like we kind of were all over the place. So that's kind of how we felt with our literature review moving forward for future papers. And then finally we learned that Excel skills are very vital for data cleaning. As we were going through this massive file of data, definitely learned VLOOKUP and other things like that, just some more formulas that would be useful and practice our skills moving forward. So those are just some of the basic lessons that we learned, and we're excited to see where this moves forward, and that's our presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Great job. So what are you going to do with this data, or this project? Are you going to push it to a conference, or
That's the hope.
a journal?
Yeah, we're hopefully going to publish the paper in the Journal of AIS.
That's a great journal.
JAIS.
Yeah. Have you, either of you considered a PhD?
I wasn't before, but
Yeah.
after this project, I'm thinking about it more than I was.
Yeah, it's definitely tempting.
Fantastic presentation, and one that I think you hit right on the right level. You know, the hope is that some of the relationships may have been even stronger or more explanatory, but you have some neat stuff there, and I can see that the amount of work that you put in and kind of true understanding of getting into, you know, what it means to actually do research. Very well done. Congratulations. Any questions?
Well, I have comments. Considering how little we actually prepared you guys to give a research presentation, I mean, we were focusing on the research right up and on the actual findings right up until yesterday, right? At no point did we ever give you any training on how to do a research presentation. At least I didn't. Did you? Okay, so I'm amazed at how well you nailed the flow and the logic of a research presentation.
In fact, I leaned over to Mark and I said, "This easily at a conference."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some of the cool findings, and I'm just for the sake of the audience that we didn't quite get to point out because we were limited in time, and also I didn't tell you to do this, and so there's no way you would know. But that slide where they were showing the relationships. By far, the biggest predictor of their performance was the treatment, was whether they were homogeneous or heterogeneous. All prior research had done is they just looked at each individual Big Five trait. What effect do these traits have? Direct effects on performance.
Yeah.
And they found the paper in the Journal of Personality and Social, the A+ psychology, I can't remember the exact name of it, paper that said, no, it's not about the traits, it's about whether they're
Composition.
homogeneous versus heterogeneous. And that was the closest thing we could find to theory about how do you put together personalities. And that cluster was really cool. It worked out so nicely because we had no idea how are these Big Five going to boil down into what homogeneous and heterogeneous actually mean. So we did the cluster analysis, and it was very clear. You've got the people who like to be quiet and sit behind a desk and do their own work, and the people who want to be in a team and be extroverted. And anyway, very, very cool how you put it all together. So here's my one question for you. That moderator, I kind of give you a hard time on that one, but I'm going to ask you a different question.
Okay.
Putting it all together, great recommendation for the junior core. Put them in homogeneous teams. But what about later on in the workplace when they've got some skills and expertise? Do you still put them in homogeneous teams, or what would you say based on these findings?
I would say no. I would say that once you get your confidence, that's probably time to start branching out and challenging yourself a little bit and move into the heterogeneous teams, especially since it led to better performance. I mean, with a bigger sample size, you might learn that it's different. But just my personal thing is that it's better to grow and to challenge yourself than to just stay in the same type of team with the same people for the rest of the year.
And that would be an interesting thing to look at in the MISM study if we get to that.
Yep.
Did you guys look at all how time factors in? I'm just curious, is there after a certain amount of time there are diminishing returns on the performance increase, or is there a big initial gain followed by, kind of shrinking returns?
We measured at the beginning and the end, so we didn't do the time thing, but that was a good thing to consider for them.
I mean, it's cool because we have groups that stay together for almost 4 years.
That's
So in the MISM program, they'll end up working together just because they're so comfortable with it. But that would be a cool thing to look at.
That'd be interesting to take the junior core first semester, take them the next semester, see the comparison, take them the next year.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And now we're just making teams based upon a reason versus
But
go be together.
so is the way that we've done it in the past, which we'll keep our secrets, but is that
We
leading
put the beautiful people in
to
one group and the smelly people in another. That was
Mark? But is that leading to this desire to work together as well, and that the heterogeneous groups can be challenging at times, but performance can be better, and I think you hit it on the head when you said it really depends what you're going after, and so I think there's some trade-offs there, but
Which is interesting because and Mark's the one who did all this stuff with them. And wow, I just besides the title, which was super clever, create your dream team, and I'm biased, but this stuff is super useful. And Mark had this great point that he brought out. He said, what is the whole purpose of an IS program? Is it for you guys to get A's? No. I mean, you want your A's. We know that. I know that. Everyone kept telling me, I know you want your A. But he pointed out, no, it's Crease. That's the whole purpose of it.
So again, that's a student's confidence in their ability to solve a business problem creatively with technology in a way that no one else has done before. It's not your actual skills, but your confidence in your skill. And the studies we did found that their belief in their skills led to much higher performance than their actual skills. Because when you believe you have stronger performance, you put in far more effort than when you don't have that confidence in yourself, which is what led to the better outcomes. So that's why we looked at that improvement in that confidence in your ability rather than just grades. Anyway.
Ladies, that was cool.
yeah,
Yeah, they did their share on this for sure.
Wow.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Julianne. She's the data queen. She seriously is an A++ partner. So we're a dream team. I just want to.
That's right. So are you homogeneous or heterogeneous? Homogeneous, right?
They're homogeneous.
Yeah, I could go on the Big Five and nail you on each one of those, exactly where you stand. Nicely done. Good job.